Selamat sore teman-teman semua. Good afternoon everyone. Welcome to Koteka Talk. This is a weekly actually a Zoom meeting organized by Koteka. Koteka is Komunitas Traveler Kompasiana. So in Koteka, you are going to meet actually many people, not only from Indonesia, but also they come from all over the world. And today we have a very special guest. We have Dr. Nur Hidayat. Beliau adalah Dr. Nur Hidayat, M.Hum. Beliau adalah Kepala Program International or International Office di Universitas PGRI Semarang. And we also have some guests actually this afternoon. They're from the Philippines, Professor Milagros. Good afternoon. And then Maria is from Denmark, and she speaks Bahasa Indonesia very well. So in this occasion, I'm going to talk in two languages, Bahasa Indonesia and Bahasa Inggris, because we have international audience. And we have Fatou here. Fatou is from Senegal. Good afternoon, Fatou. What time is it in Senegal now?
Right now, I'm in Jakarta.
Oh, you are in Jakarta. Oh, sorry. So you are in Jakarta.
Yes.
And we have Maria, Fatou, and Milagros, and we have Mbak Naning, and she's now in Belgium, right, in Brussels, and also others, like Koteka members here. And they're not from only Jakarta, but also from Semarang and also from other cities in this country. So before we start, let me begin mengenalkan Dr. Nur Hidayat. Dr. Nur Hidayat adalah pengajar dan juga saya sudah menyebutkan tadi Kepala International Office di Universitas PGRI Semarang. Beliau mendapatkan gelar S1-nya dari IKIP Semarang, kemudian melanjutkan S2 dan S3-nya di UGM. Di bidang American Literatures dan juga American Studies. Dan sore hari ini beliau akan berdiskusi dengan teman-teman semua tentang sebuah buku yang ditulis oleh beliau. Buku ini merupakan buku yang saya sudah baca, belum semuanya, Pak Nur, tapi saya sangat suka karena buku ini banyak bercerita sebenarnya tentang cross-cultural understanding, bagaimana pengalaman Bapak selama bekerja di International Office, kemudian berkeliling dunia dan membagikannya ini kepada kita semua. Judulnya adalah Ingatan Panjang Tentang Pertemuan Singkat. So today we are going to discuss a book written by Dr. Nur Hidayat entitled Ingatan Panjang Tentang Pertemuan Singkat. This book discussed about his journey actually traveling around the world from Asia, Europe, and also Africa and other continents. It's 5 continents. Am I right, Pak Nur?
3 continents.
Oh, 3 continents. Asia, Europe, and Africa. So Today we have also some people, actually coming from Asia, Europe, and also Africa. Without further ado, I would like to give, Pak Nur to talk about the book. But let me ask you first, Pak Nur. Many people here actually probably they do not know about international office in the university is. Can you tell us a little bit about what is international office actually, and what is your responsibility in that office?
But before I start my explanations, I just want to make sure that the publisher of my book is also present, is already present in this Zoom meeting about why he published his books. Yeah. Mas Wiwit sudah gabung belum?
Mas Wiwit belum ada, Pak.
So let me contact him. Just a moment.
Teman-teman, while waiting for Pak Nur to contact the publishers, I'm going to inform you that actually after this meeting, this session actually, we are going to have a Q&A. And then please raise your hand. Di sana ada raise hand icon dan Anda bisa mengklik icon tersebut untuk bertanya. Nanti bisa bertanya langsung dengan Pak Nur ya. Jika ada yang ingin bertanya lewat chat, silahkan. So if you want to have a question through chat, so it is welcome. Ini saya mau sapa juga teman-teman Kompasiana dari ada Pak Sutiono, kemudian yang saya kenal ya, ada Mbak Dianavi, kemudian ada Mbak Niken, kemudian ada, wah banyak nih, yang lain saya baru-baru nih face-nya. So thank you very much everyone for joining our program. As I mentioned earlier, that this program is organized by the Koteka, Komunitas Traveler Kompasiana. And we have guests not only from Indonesia, but also from all over the world. So we are still waiting for Pak Nur to contact the publishers. Probably I just going to ask question to Professor Mila. Professor Milagros, how is the Philippines at the moment?
So we are still having hard time battling with the COVID-19,
Mhm.
though our president, of course, our President Duterte is doing his best to seek help from other sources just to be able to purchase the vaccines needed by the people. So at the moment, the private sectors, the private businessmen have also contributed a lot, like more than 10 billion pesos to purchase the vaccines needed by the people. Especially now that there is another UK variant and South African variant of the COVID. So it makes the people worried because, you know, it's not only in the Philippines these days, but the entire world is really battling this. And of course, from at the start, I was just worried because when my daughter was in Indonesia, it was very, it was also very timely that Dr. Noor helped me actually. He helped me secure my daughter because I was worried. I was always looking into the statistics every day. So Dr. Noor even told me that you are more updated when it comes to the number of cases in Indonesia than me. So I was really praying a lot so that this pandemic would end. But I think it will still take a long time, maybe until next year, because of the other variants of COVID-19.
Mm.
That's why we really have to practice the health protocol. So, like washing your hands, physical distancing, and other measures just to prevent from being contaminated with the variant.
I see. So school is still closed?
Yes, you are still having online classes.
Mhm.
But you know, being in a developing country, our country could not, what do you call that, could not purchase a lot of. Although we are making use of different methods of teaching, we are using modules, we are having online, we are having Google Classrooms. But then there are cases where our students could not really afford to buy this gadget and to have internet connections at home. That's why in my class I already had like 12 dropouts for
Wow.
just one sem.
What subject do you teach, Professor?
I teach math, I
Wow.
teach math, I teach research, I teach statistics.
Okay, yeah. Hope the situation is getting better. Also in Indonesia, the number of like people infected by COVID, yeah, increasing day by day, especially this month. So we are still having online courses from the schools. Yeah, and Indonesia is like the Philippines, right? It's
Yeah.
so big, and then like people are not all people actually get access to the internet and also to
Mm-mm.
the gadget that can fit into all the facility. Thank you,
Yeah.
Professor Milagros.
Okay.
Pak Nur udah siap?
Yeah, I think Mas Vid, the publisher, will join our meeting later.
Pak Nur, actually, what is international office in the university? And then what is your main job in that university? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, international office, a unit in the university in charge of conducting cooperations with a foreign institution. And it provides students as much as an opportunity to have, let's say, international mobility. So we send students abroad and we receive also students abroad for many different kinds of activities like academic activities like seminar, internship, and cultural, let's say, cultural exchange, and also Indonesian language study. And also we invite professors come to our university, and we send our colleague professors to teach in foreign universities. And as we have already invited Professor Milagros Baltimore, he's also the one who was once is invited to our university to give lectures, to conduct a kind of research collaborations and presenting paper in a seminar we conducted. So that's what is mostly conducted by international office of our university, and I'm the head of the international office, so coordinating all those.
Baik, terima kasih Pak Nur. Jadi International Office itu adalah salah satu unit di universitas yang salah satu tugasnya adalah menjadi koordinator untuk program baik itu inbound maupun outbound, seperti pertukaran pelajar, pertukaran dosen, dan sebagainya. Nah, Pak Nur ini saat ini menjadi kepala International Office di Universitas PGRI Semarang. Jadi Pak Nur punya banyak kesempatan dong berinteraksi dengan orang-orang tidak hanya dari Indonesia tapi juga dari luar negeri. Benar ya Pak Nur ya?
Yeah, I'm always curious of meeting people, especially those coming from different countries and different cultures. So when I think of meeting people, I think that I would be meeting a new people, and I'll find something very interesting that I could put in my my record, and I will record it and I'll write it, and then there'll be something very interesting to share with others. So I always develop my conversation, not only, let's say, just a casual conversation, but a bit more deep conversation that can reveal not only what is on the surface level, but on the deep levels of my guests from foreign countries.
Jadi
That
Pak Nur
was always
ini
attract me.
Ya, jadi Pak Nur ini sangat suka dengan budaya, kemudian bertemu orang, kemudian juga suka dengan hal-hal yang baru, baik itu yang mungkin udah ada maupun yang sudah tidak ada, maksudnya yang baru benar ataupun yang sudah tidak ada saat ini. Nah, kebetulan Pak Nur ini juga tidak hanya ketika bertemu itu tidak hanya ingin berdiskusi tapi juga mulai menulis, kemudian menggali lebih dalam, dan beliau ini ingin sharing pengalaman beliau itu kepada semuanya. Jadi lebih dalam untuk hal-hal yang berhubungan dengan people to people, orang dengan orang, baik itu budayanya, baik itu hal-hal yang baru bagi kita semua. Nah, sore ini kita ini akan mengupas sebenarnya perjalanan Pak Nur yang sudah dibukukan dalam sebuah buku yang tentang perjalanan dia berinteraksi dengan banyak orang dari banyak negara. So today we are going to discuss, about Pak Nur's book while actually he's traveling, meeting people, and also actually, learning things from other countries. So, Pak Nur, can you tell us when did you start to make this book?
I wrote this book in 2018.
It's quite new then.
Yeah. But what I actually wrote is not my last experience, but some stories which has been, let's say, deeply implanted into my mind. And then I try to dig it and then try to write it again. Some stories were taken, let's say, what happens during my working experience with a Japanese International Cooperation Agency for 7 years. So I've been working with the Japanese Cooperation Agency for 7 years. So I know, a little bit about Japanese people, their work ethics, and so on. But I also base my writing based on my experience coordinating Dharma Siswa students since 2007 up to now. And then what I wrote is also based on my working experience as the head of international office. So with those three main experience, I could collect so many stories that has been, let's say, stored in my long memory, and I try to dig it again and then try to write it. And of course, the people I met, I've been conversing with, the people I have been talking deeply with from different parts of the world. Some are from Southeast Asia, like Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Philippines, and other Asian countries like Japanese, Chinese, Korean, and some others are from European countries, yeah, all over many European countries and also American. And then I used to stay, let's say, about 1 month in the same hotel with many friends from Africa, like Namibia, Tanzania, and then Mali, Malawi, and then Ethiopia, and then Uganda, and some other countries. I got along with them for more or less more or less 1 month, and I listened to their stories. I learned some things from them, and yeah. So I could divide or categorize my experience from three periods. The first period is the period where I've been working or coordinating students of Dharma Sirva students coming to my university to study Indonesian and Indonesian language and culture. And the second, my experience working as the head of international office. And the third periods of years is my working experience working for an international cooperation agency.
Yeah.
So by that experience, I could meet almost people around the world, and that was how the stories are restarted from.
Baik, terima kasih Pak Nur.
Yeah.
Jadi buku ini sebenarnya ditulis Pak Nur tidak hanya ketika beliau menjabat sebagai kepala International Office, tetapi ada dua juga hal yang menjadi dasar penulisan buku ini. Jadi Pak Nur ini adalah saya satu, kalau bila saya sebut expert ya Pak, di JICA. JICA itu adalah Japan International Cooperation Agency, itu jadi lembaga donor dari Jepang. Jadi kalau teman-teman ini mungkin karena kebetulan saya di International Relation dan banyak berhubungan dengan International Relations, saya sedikit juga nih mau jelasin kepada teman-teman. Jadi kalau JICA itu punya Jepang, kalau Anda pernah dengar namanya USAID, itu namanya adalah punya Amerika. Jadi itu lembaga donor. Kalau dari Jerman itu GTZ, tapi sekarang namanya udah berubah, GIZ. Jadi teman-teman yang mungkin nanti jurusan bahasa Inggris tuh boleh tuh apply ke lembaga-lembaga donor, mereka banyak melakukan project. Ternyata saya juga baca tuh tadi JICA banyak melakukan project di kota Semarang ya Pak.
Iya, iya.
Pak Nur ya.
Ya, ada lagi yang kelewatan satu pengalaman saya bekerjasama dengan Swedish International Development Agency.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I went to Sweden, stay in Sweden for 1 month, and then I had an opportunity to also go to that was from our collaboration with SIDA, Swedish National Development Agency.
Yeah. Nah, kalau Kanada namanya SIDA, Canadian International Development Agency. Nah, kalau sekarang yang paling dekat dengan Kenya, yang paling banyak memberikan beasiswa itu ya Australia. Namanya adalah namanya sekarang Australian Award, dulu namanya AusAid ya. Itu adalah beberapa lembaga internasional di mana Pak Nur salah satu expert di JICA. Pengalaman beliau yang lain ketika menulis ini karena beliau juga menjadi koordinator untuk beasiswa Dharma Siswa. Beasiswa Dharma Siswa ini adalah beasiswa untuk bagi mahasiswa asing yang ingin belajar bahasa Indonesia. Dan mereka biasanya belajar di universitas-universitas tertentu, salah satunya adalah Universitas PGRI Semarang, dan di sini mungkin ada beberapa murid Pak Nur dulu ya, Fatou, kemudian Maria, those are actually they are actually Pak Nur students. So ini adalah bentuk promosi ya Pak, diplomasi antara Indonesia dan negara lain. Kemudian perjalanan ini juga tadi saya sebutkan bahwa itu adalah bagian dari pengalaman beliau ketika beliau menjabat sebagai kepala hubungan internasional. Ya, jadi itu landasannya. Baik Pak. So Pak, I read your book is 274 pages, Pak. Itu perlu waktu ya, Pak ya. I read your book and it consists of 274 pages, Pak, and you divided into, I don't know, like 4 or 5 clusters. and then based on the special like a theme. Okay, Pak Nur, can you tell us actually, like what classification or what topics in your book?
Yeah. I divide the topics into 5 classifications. The first is cross-cultural understanding other cultures. And then the second is relating to religiosity and diversity. It's quite interesting to meet people from especially European countries. Many of my experience based on our conversation and talk, it happens that we talk things about religiosity, things about religion, whether they believe in religion or not, how they perceive religion, how they see things in our life. And the topic mostly derived from my encounter with mostly European European friends. Yeah. And then the third topic is understanding Indonesia from, let's say, a foreign outlook, understanding Indonesia or perceiving Indonesia from foreign perspective. So how they see Indonesia, what they perceive Indonesian. I give an examples how our neighbors like Malaysia, Singapore, and our neighboring country in which many Indonesian people work there, perceive Indonesia. So there's been many stereotypes, pictures we have from our neighboring countries. But I also talk about how many Indonesian, especially the third generation, were very successful in Malaysia. Yeah, they are already becoming a professor, very senior researcher, and in many other important positions. The third generations of Indonesia living in Malaysia, for example. And then we have I also write here things relating to language, politics of language, and the problems relating to identity. Yeah. And the last topic is things relating to history, rejecting stereotypes. So what is meant by looking back at history is that, especially in some countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand, history repeats. And what happens in Malaysia and what happens in Philippines and what happened in Thailand seems that there is a similar pattern. Yeah, similar pattern like a militarism, how military let's say interfere in education matters, going to university and trying to impose something on the institutions. So that's something relating to history. Maybe Prof. Mila could explain further how the resignations of Mr. Suharto, for example, is a similar case to what happens in Philippines after the resignations of Marcos. So it seems that history repeats itself. There is some similarity of what happens in, let's say, in Southeast Asian countries, and many things we can learn from that. And we have been for centuries living with stereotypes. The European, the Westerners have their stereotypes on Indonesian, on Asian countries. And then we have stereotypes of the European and people in the West. And each Asian countries also share their stereotype for some other countries and neighboring countries. So that's what I could learn. I could sum up through my encounter and my meeting with my friends from different parts of the world.
Baik, Pak Nur. Jadi di dalam buku Pak Nur ini ada 5 topik, atau Pak Nur membaginya menjadi 5 yang terdiri dari cross-cultural understanding, bagaimana kita memahami budaya satu negara dengan negara lain, kemudian religions, dan ini yang menjadi salah satu topik juga yang menarik dalam buku Pak Nur. Kemudian yang ketiga adalah political language or identity, jadi identitas, ternyata bahasa itu juga banyak mengandung identitas suatu bangsa. Kemudian juga yang tidak kalah penting adalah Pak Nur menyebutkan bahwa di buku keempat beliau berbicara banyak tentang history atau sejarah dan stereotype. Jadi bagaimana sih orang-orang luar negeri itu, seperti tadi Pak Nur juga mengatakan bahwa mungkin di Filipina bisa menggambarkan tuh bagaimana sejarahnya dan sebagainya. Kemudian juga bagaimana orang asing tuh membuat stereotip tentang kita ya, orang Indonesia. Jadi ini adalah 5 topik atau saya bilang ini adalah hal-hal penting yang Pak Nur ingin kemukakan atau ingin share ke teman-teman yang lain. Pak Nur udah, kalau boleh tahu, how many countries have you visited, Pak Nur?
Well, personally, compared to Mas Oni, I have been visiting just a few countries, not as many as you have.
I'm traveling within the countries now.
Still can count the countries I have visited just maybe with our fingers. Yeah.
You have been to Asia, Europe,
Yeah.
and then also to other continents, like Africa, Pak.
Yeah.
So I also,
What I emphasize here is with my experience and also my decision. Although I might not visit the country, but I could meet the people. So that's what represent my stories. Yeah, I could visit people of different countries, different around the globe, due to my position working in international office. Yeah. But physically, if in terms of physical visit, I've been visiting not as many countries as you have been doing, probably, Pak Mas Oni. But 3 continents here, let's say, is the representation of people where I have been meeting. But also, of course, I have been also meeting the US people, and then I think I wrote, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 stories about the American I have met and the stories behind my meeting and my talk with the Americans.
Oke, baik. Jadi Pak Nur ini sudah banyak mengunjungi negara, tidak hanya Asia, tapi juga Eropa dan Afrika. Dalam kunjungannya, Pak Nur tidak hanya berkunjung sebenarnya, tapi juga mempresentasikan ya Indonesia. Dan beliau tuh selalu berinteraksi dengan orang-orang yang beliau temui. Nah, itu menjadi hal yang menarik karena di buku beliau itu pasti ada cerita yang menarik, seperti tadi bagaimana Pak Nur ini encounter dengan orang-orang Amerika dan sebagainya. Pak Nur, while you are traveling, Pak Nur, ada nggak cerita lucu Pak Nur? Mungkin dari banyaknya Pak Nur itu yang based on your experience, Pak Nur, do you have any special moments that you never forget while you are actually visiting a country?
It might be funny or it might not be considered funny, but I was very impressed with my encounter with a taxi driver when I was on my way back home from Sweden, Lund, heading to Copenhagen. So I took a taxi. At the first time I saw the taxi driver, I was a bit scared, because he was very big with a long hair and tattoos on his hands. So I tried to calm down myself to reduce my worry or my anxiety by trying to be friendly, trying to talk to him, trying to start the conversation. And it seems that he liked my approach. And then he said to me that I have never had a passengers like you. And then it seems that he enjoyed my conversation. And there was a very interesting conversations that he tried to initiate. He started to talk, after talking different topics on our way to Copenhagen, he started to talk about religion. He said that the more people is prosperous, and the more people is getting more prosperous, and then the less then he needs a religion. So religion is not then very relevant when people is becoming more and more prosperous. And then he continued the explanations that religion is only needed by those people living in the third world countries like Asia and Africa, like your country probably, he said. And then, well, people have to pray and to think that by praying they will have a better life then. And then he was proud of being Swedish, and he said that our problem is not like your problem. We have been over of, let's say, a problem concerning with clothes, of food, and shelter. So my problem here as a taxi driver, for example, is that I have a problem with my handphone and I have a problem with my car. And for those two problems, what I could do is just send my car to the garage and then get someone to fix my handphone. And for those two problems, he said that I didn't need to pray. I didn't need to pray. Yeah. So, and then, being Indonesian who think president of harmony, I did not try to argue or contend what he said. And then it seems that he was very happy. Usually a taxi driver just send their passenger just in the, let's say, in the exit gate. But it seems that he was very happy and he took me to the customer service. And if he might have not sent me to the customer service, I might get lost because the airport was that very big. So that was a very interesting experience where a topic about religiosity, about the existence of God, about the, let's say, the relevance of religions seems to be naturally topics that I have with some European. And then if you're asking me what funny story is that, I was one in university. It was in Malmo, and at that time it was time for me to do duhur prayer. And someone from the university said to me that there was a little room in the corner in the fourth floor inside the library that someone could do a prayer there. So I was trying to go to the fourth floor, and then I found there is a security in front of the library, and then I explained to him that someone has already said to me that there was a room that I could do my prayer. And then he was a bit surprised and a bit angry, saying to me, "This is a library, not bukan tempat buat beribadah." Not a place for worshiping. Yeah. Of course, there's been also many other funny stories, and I just could tell you those two stories.
Ya, baik Pak Nur. Jadi selama melakukan perjalanan tuh banyak cerita-cerita menarik, dan ada dua hal cerita yang menarik ketika Pak Nur melakukan perjalanan di Swedia waktu itu dari kota Lord ke Copenhagen. Beliau itu naik taksi. Dalam taksinya beliau agak takut ya karena ada tato dan sebagainya. Dan ini bagian dari stereotip loh Pak Nur.
Iya, betul.
Kalau orang stereotip bahwa tato itu orang kayak gini. Nah itu udah membuat kita takut sendiri. Tapi dengan usaha Pak Nur dengan berkomunikasi, mengajak diskusi, akhirnya menjadi diskusi yang menarik dengan sopir taksi itu, terutama ketika berbicara tentang agama. Jadi Pak Nur tadi menyebutkan bahwa orang Barat, ya orang Eropa yang khususnya ya supir taksi itu tadi menyebutkan bahwa semakin kita kaya, biasanya memang kita sudah tidak menganggap bahwa agama itu penting. Tadi seperti kita ada kerusakan handphone, tidak, is not going to talk with your God, but akan berbicara kepada orang lain. Nah, Pak Nur, kayak gitu tuh juga, how do you see that one, Pak Nur? Apakah dalam artian itu menjadi bagian yang saat ini saya nggak tahu, mungkin, ya ini tadi saya in the beginning actually it's like cross-cultural understanding, bagiannya nggak tahu di Eropa. How actually, like Pak Nur mentioned that many people actually, you are getting prosperous, then sometimes, you are losing your faith to God. Itu terjadi nggak sih Mbak Gana di Eropa seperti itu?
Yeah. I have also talked with a Swedish professor who admitted that 95% of Swedish was baptized when they were born, but now only 5% of those people go to churches. And then they said, we do not go to church anymore. Religion is something to do with our birth, our death, and our marriage. So it's more on about culture, they said. And that explained that what is our religion then? And what do we do on Sundays? We go to the beach, we go to the forest, and we go to the mall. That's our religion.
Yeah, that's a different perception, especially in the modern area ya.
Yeah.
Dan the second, untuk pengalaman beliau yang kedua, mungkin banyak teman-teman yang sering juga nih ngalamin hal yang sama. Jadi prayer room tuh memang tidak musola atau prayer kalau kita orang Muslim ya, prayer room tuh kadang-kadang tidak memang tersedia ya di mana-mana. Dan beliau tadi juga mengatakan bahwa ada ketika beliau sedang mau sholat di lantai 4 dan tidak ada prayer room, ternyata di library, dan beliau sempat
Dimarahi.
diingatkan bahwa itu bukan prayer room tapi itu adalah library. Tapi saya yakin Pak Nur dengan komunikasi yang baik tentunya bisa dijelaskan ya hal-hal yang seperti itu ya. Ini hal yang menarik ketika traveling. Baik, saya langsung aja membuka pertanyaan ya, karena ini banyak banget di chat udah ada. Sekalian kita nanti akan bertanya juga dengan teman-teman tidak hanya dari yang Indonesia tapi juga dari luar negeri. So now I'm going to start,
Pak Oni, boleh saya usul?
Boleh.
Karena yang saya hadirkan itu adalah teman-teman yang saya tulis di dalam buku. Ya. Mungkin ada baiknya sebentar gitu ya diberi kesempatan untuk mengomentari apa yang saya tulis nih. Misalnya saya menulis Maria ya. Maria saya tuliskan mengenai salah kaprah konsep mengenai kecantikan, apa yang cantik menurut orang Indonesia. Sementara orang Eropa sendiri itu menganggap bukan suatu hal yang cantik. Ide atau gagasan mengenai cantik itu beda antara Eropa dengan kita. Tetapi kita sudah kadung termakan oleh iklan-iklan kosmetik bahwa cantik itu putih, hidungnya mancung, langsing, dan saya tulis satu mengenai Maria. Kemudian saya tulis mengenai Profesor Baltimore itu berkaitan dengan sejarah hal yang mirip antara era pasca Soeharto dan era pasca Marcos. Kemudian beliau menjelaskan sisi lain mengenai ada untold stories about pembunuhan Benigno Aquino yang menurut Profesor Baltimore itu tidak dilakukan oleh Marcos, tapi ada hal sisi yang lain kita yang selama ini tidak ketahui. Kemudian mengenai Fatou adalah kebiasaan mengenai orang-orang Senegal yang banyak sekali mengkonsumsi jeruk nipis ya, dan kenapa orang-orang di Senegal itu kemudian menjadi langsing, dan saya tuliskan semacam itu. Kemudian ada lagi ya Fatou, Zulkifli tidak jadi datang ya. Itu saya tuliskan, barangkali mereka sudah baca bukunya, barangkali sedikit komentar mereka mengenai ya barangkali ini usulannya
sebelum ke tanya jawab ya. Oke, terima kasih Pak Nur. So before we continue, actually we have some special guests actually. This guest actually are features in Pak Nur's book. And I'm going to greet Professor Milagros. Professor Milagros, Pak Nur mentioned earlier that he wrote about the era of Soeharto and Marcos. That actually there is similarities. Can you tell us actually about what actually the story behind the era of Soeharto and the era of Marcos to the audience? Probably you can introduce yourself, Professor Milagros, because I'm sure that not all the participants here then from University PGRI Semarang. Please, Professor. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Professor Milagros Baltimore from the Don Mariano Marcos Memorial State University, Philippines. So I met Dr. Nur in Malaysia in 2017. So there came a time when he was already requesting for a tie-up between his university and mine. Now regarding the topic on the leadership of Marcos and Suharto. So I think there's similarities where they were once regarded as dictators. So Marcos ruled the Philippines for more than 2 decades, and after that, maybe the leadership of Marcos was good. He was a very bright president, but then there came a time that his leadership and management placed the opposition to initiate a revolt against him. So for us in Ilocos region, because we live in the region where the birth region of the late President Ferdinand Marcos, we wanted his type of leadership as Ilocanos. But then there came a time that the followers of the late President Marcos abused their authority. So there were even events where he had no knowledge about it, and there were massive killings and others because he was a very strong man. So the opportunity to overthrow his government came upon the death of the late Senator Benigno Aquino. So when he warned, actually they are brothers, they are fraternal brothers. So Marcos and Aquino were fraternal brothers. So Marcos warned Aquino not to come back to the Philippines, otherwise he would be killed. But then Aquino insisted on coming home. So he was killed at the tarmac of the plane while he was he was getting off the plane. So all the blame was given to Marcos that time. So that initiated the revolt against Marcos. But there were stories given like when Benigno Aquino was in the United States, because he was a political exile to the United States, he always asked for the help of Marcos regarding his financial needs. Because the late President Cory Aquino, the wife of Benigno Aquino, was a rich woman. She came from a very prosperous family, the Aquinos, owning the Hacienda Luisita in Tarlac. But then, of course, Benigno Aquino came from a poor family too, so he had to seek the help of Marcos. But if it was really Marcos who was the mastermind in the killing of Benigno Aquino, it should have been solved. Why? When the government of Marcos was overthrown, Corazon Aquino continued the unexpired term of Marcos. So she became the president. And then here comes Pinoy, the son of Benigno Aquino. So he became the president too of the Philippines before the presidency of President Duterte. So with all those terms of leadership in the Philippines, then they should have hired a lot of, investigators to solve the issue on the killing of Benigno Aquino. But nothing happened. And here comes Bongbong Marcos telling the public that the killer of Benigno Aquino is just around. So there are lots of suspects actually. And also, Juan Ponce Enrile, the close-in of Marcos before, but he was a part of those who overthrew the leadership of Marcos, wanted to make his statements, but they didn't want to believe him because they were saying that he wanted to change history. So maybe just like your former president, Suharto, if a leader leads a country, manages a country or leads a country for a long time, there would be a time that the people would also encourage other leaders to become, to become presidents. So they could also try another form of presidency. So if one is a good leader, there will always be what we call in the Philippines as contrabida. It's also a Spanish term. This is what we call, there are always those against a certain type of leadership. So if you are a leader now, there will come a time just like Trump. You remember Trump? So just like Trump, at the start, he was a very good leader until after quite some time, some people were already against him. But there will always be loyalists to certain leaders. So those are the things I know. The what do you call that? The similarities between Suharto and and Marcos.
Yeah. So what I wrote is that after the resignations of Marcos, things remembering Suharto and Marcos is then eradicated or demolished or changed, let's say in terms of name and some others. Ya, jadi nama
Yes.
jalan, bangunan, gedung, peninggalan yang mengingatkan kepada ingatan memori Marcos and Suharto coba dihilangkan oleh generasi setelah itu kan. Ada hal yang mirip antara Marcos dan that's what I wrote, Mas Oni.
Okay, baik.
Okay, maybe you could go on with Maria.
Profesor Milagros menyebutkan bahwa ada kesamaan antara kepemimpinan Marcos dan kepemimpinan Pak Soeharto. Ketika proses kepemimpinan itu terlalu lama, memang ada beberapa pastinya ya political atau siapa saja yang sebenarnya menggunakan banyak hal sebenarnya untuk juga menjadi posisi tersebut. Tapi Pak Nur juga menjelaskan bahwa ada sejarah yang Pak Nur ingin ungkapkan dalam buku ini, bahwa banyak nama-nama atau apapun yang berkaitan baik itu dengan Pak Marcos atau Pak Harto ingin dihilangkan dari ingatan anak muda. Dan itu yang Pak Nur ingin sampaikan lewat buku beliau di salah satu bab bagian dari buku beliau. Baik, now I'm going to invite Maria. Maria is from Denmark.
Slovakia.
From Denmark, and then Pak Nur mentioned earlier that Maria, has a different perspective about, like the concept of beauty. Yeah. So probably Maria, can you tell us the story about, like what is the orang cantik seperti apa sih menurut versinya orang Denmark dan menurut versinya orang Indonesia? Please go ahead, Maria.
Thank you very much. I would like to say at the beginning, just like Professor Milagros said, that Professor Nur, he helped everyone. I think everyone that is here today on the panel, Bapak Nur helped everyone very much. I also remember him helping me really a lot. And it's my honor to be in the book. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so in the book, Bapak Nur wrote, it's not a difficult or a serious story like with Professor Milagros. This is more like a funny story. But I'm very glad that Bapak Nur wrote about this because, so basically, the story is that I said in the class that I want to go to Bali to get a tent. And Bapak Nur said that this is beauty when you are white in Indonesia. That's what is considered a beauty. And I said something like, but people in Europe, they like tanned skin. And it looks like a simple story, but I think that this is the art of Bapak Nur writing really well, because behind this, for me, a very deep story, because I think also in Indonesian, you have this idiom. In English, it's the grass is always greener on the other side. And in Indonesian, it's rumput tetangga selalu terlihat lebih hijau. Do you know this? Yeah. It made me quite angry to be in Indonesia and to see that people are unhappy with how they look. They just want to be like the Westerners. They want to copy the hairstyle, want to have whiter skin. This is a phenomenon that is not only in Indonesia, this is in many countries. And I think it is a little sad. And I'm not from social studies, so I'm not a professional in this. But it actually comes out also into my profession, into architecture, because I'm an architect. And there we can also see it clearly, because there also are trends of building in tropical countries, for example, in Indonesia, in the style of from other countries. And this architecture, this style, it just doesn't fit. It's not made for the climate. I think that there are similarities that people in every country should realize how special their culture is, and that the beauty, the grass is simply not greener on the other side. Yeah. It's the same, it's different grass everywhere, but the perfect grass for its place. So I'm very happy that Bapak Nur actually wrote this. I think it is a little funny comment from me, and I was just 18 by that time. But I'm very happy because it actually says a lot. There is a big story behind it, something that I really struggled with, and that I have never really been exposed to so much, so big comparison of really trying to be different. I had a trouble to buy a normal cream in Indonesia. Everything was for whitening. I didn't want it to be white. It's the same. I also wanted to be the way. So this phenomenon is simply everywhere, and I wish that it will just go down, so people will be able to appreciate more the specialty of the culture. And because I love Indonesia and I love the people and I love the culture. Wow. So it's sad for me to hear
Yeah.
when they look at
Thanks,
somebody
Maria.
from foreign country that this is better. It's not better. It's perfect for the context. So
Terima kasih Maria. Jadi Maria ini tadi menyebutkan bahwa Maria itu kalau orang Barat, orang Eropa, kecantikan itu dilihat sebenarnya ketika kulitnya ini adalah kulit coklat. Jadi dia ketika di Bali dia minta izin Pak Nur, Pak saya mau ke Bali mau berjemur supaya kulit saya tan karena saya akan lebih cantik. Nah Pak Nur menjelaskan bahwa kalau orang Indonesia itu kecantikan adalah ya kulitnya putih gitu. Jadi kenapa tadi Maria juga menyebutkan bahwa susah banget nih dapat krim bukan untuk tans ya, tapi kalau di orang-orang di Indonesia menjualnya itu krim yang untuk pemutih. Jadi ini adalah konsep yang memang berbeda. Nah, kemudian Maria juga menyebutkan bahwa banyak hal. Kebetulan Maria ini seorang arsitek ya. Jadi ketika Maria ini belajar tentang bagaimana mendesain sebuah rumah, arsitektur dan sebagainya, memang kadang-kadang kita hanya mengambil dari negara itu dan sebenarnya itu tidak cocok dengan hal-hal yang memang ada di negara itu sendiri. Jadi kalau orang bilang tadi Maria bahwa menyebutkan ya the other grass is always greener ya. Jadi our neighbor is always greener actually. Jadi rumput tetangga pasti lebih hijau. Padahal sebenarnya kita bisa punya hal-hal yang sangat menarik yang bisa kita kembangkan sendiri. Jadi itu juga Pak Nur tulis dalam buku beliau di salah satu bagian buku beliau. Konsep kecantikan dunia barat dan dunia timur khususnya Indonesia.